up nicely. It's the Drew and Fuse Show. The Drew and Fuse Show. The Drew and Fuse Show. Yeah, they clean up nicely. Yeah.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm pretty fantastic. I'm in all the way over here in Cincinnati.
You're in Cincinnati today? That's crazy because I'm in Long Beach. I'm in the Long Beach, the LBC, on a mission trying to find Mr. Warren G.
I think he lives in Lakewood, from what I understand.
Oh, really? Well,
Yeah.
I got to go to Lakewood then. It's early for you today. We're trying to cheer you up. You need a buttercup. Cheer me up, buttercup.
2 coffees. This is round 2. And you know what really pisses me off? This tipping situation on every dumb machine. It's can't do anything until you hit the tip button, and the guy's throwing out the drive-through window and pissed about it.
I get what you mean. Can't anything just cost what it costs anymore is what you're getting at. You just want to buy a $6 coffee and pay $6, not $6 plus the tip. Making coffee is a dangerous thing. The coffee's hot. You can get burned. I don't know what else is, but I'm sure it's a very dangerous job, and they need their tips just like anybody else. So you're gonna have to tip them. Apparently, you're just gonna have to get used to it.
No, my new thing is no one gets a tip. Everyone's just zero. Just that way you don't think like that one guy deserved it or the other one deserved it more. It's like everyone's just zero. Zero across the board.
Drew, I can't wait till some server or bartender you work with listens to this episode, and they just, from then on out, they just hate you, and you'll never figure it out until she tells you like 3 years from now she listened to this one episode.
I used to deal with this one bartender, and all I would get was a fucking Coke, and I'd ask him, why do I not have to tip you if I get a Coke, but I have to tip you if you pop open the bottle cap of a beer? Riddle me that, Batman.
You're just awful angry this morning. Just coming on here and being so angry at the world today. Because
do they deserve more because they pop the top and then versus like put ice in it? Because one has alcohol in it, one doesn't? I'm asking.
Yeah, I think they do. I think that's how it works.
So this one has caffeine.
I'm a bartender now. I'd be pissed at you. I'd be like, this guy's cut off. Get him out of here.
So if I just ask for a soda, you don't expect it. But if I ask for I guess you have to, if it's an alcohol and you had to do something to it, I get it.
Did your barista today have a nice beard?
He did not.
Is it a barista if it's a male still?
If I'm using my Greek, my Latin that I learned when I was a child, if it has an A, it's feminine. If it has an O, it's masculine.
So baristo?
It doesn't sound right, does it?
No. Well, only reason I ask is because if he had a beard, you could have laced him up with that Briggs Beard Company promo code that we have, and that promo code is DAFS, and it'll get you 20% off an order from Briggs Beard Company. And Drew's going to model how you use the Briggs Beard oil right here. Look at that, putting it all over his face. He's going to rub it in here soon.
Does Briggs have a tip thing when you're checking out? Is there like a little tip button?
You got to tip Briggs,
right?
You do.
There is.
He's adding it just because of you.
He's adding it in there.
Yeah. He just added it. He just called me and he just added it. He just told me it's added now. And now you guys, if you're checking out at Briggs Beard Company and you're using the promo code DAFS, you have to use a tip. And also, Briggs wanted us to tell you guys there is no nitroglycerin included on any of his products. So you don't have to worry about combusting at any time when you put these on. Also, if you're in the market for DJ edits and music and you haven't signed up yet, use the promo code Drew and Fuse Show. It'll get you 30% off your first month of activation. Once again, that is promo code Drew and Fuse Show. It'll get you 30% off your first month of activation. Also, in the description below in the video, we have a promo code. It'll get you $25 off, $250 or more from clubcannon.com. If you're wanting to turn your parties up to an 11, make sure you check out that link below in the description. It'll get you $25 off your purchase of $250 or more. With that being said, today's episode, we're turning it up to an 11 today. 1-1. We've got a great guest for you. It's the third person we've had on from my hometown. It's somebody I consider a great friend and a boss and all of these things. He was on air here in Cincinnati on the KISS 107 station, which is an iHeart radio station now, for many, many years. I think it's like 15 plus years. He has DJ'd at large room and big room nightclubs for pretty much his whole DJ career, from clubs here like Pulse and Energy, the one I play at now, to before when it was Oscars all these many, many years ago. He's made the transition from DJ to club owner to bar owner. Please help us welcome DJ Sab, Danny Scott.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on and taking the time out of your busy day to join us here today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Happy to be here. Yeah.
Like Drew, this is early for you. We know you're a late riser. To get you in early is always nice. Get the day started. We're going to start out with just some rapid fire questions, if you don't mind, just to kind of ease the tensions. Wake them up.
All
Maybe
right.
it's more for Drew actually than you at this point. But
Wake up.
we got this. We got this great produced clip that we'll play. Cost a lot of money to make this. Drew produced this, and then we'll get started with some questions.
It's now time for rapid fire.
All right, that was a quality segment piece right there.
I like it.
So being from Cincinnati, the same hometown as me, we know I know you're from across the river over in Newport. This is something we like to ask everybody: is where would you take us to eat if we were visiting you? I'm here all the time, so maybe you can enlighten Drew.
Not Skyline Chili. I would take you to Dixie Chili, which is in Newport, like you said, which is in Kentucky, right across the river from downtown. Dixie Chili and Pompilio's in Newport. Pasquale's in Newport. Obviously, I'm representing the hometown. But Dixie Chili first, not Skyline.
Yeah, and Drew, you might be familiar with Pompilio's too. It's the scene in Rain Man where he drops the toothpicks. If you've seen the movie.
Oh, okay.
And that diner, yeah.
Is it just a ripoff of Skyline? Is it
No.
their own? I don't know. So I'm asking. Is it like
Yeah.
Skyline was first and that's the move for Cincinnati and they ripped it off, or vice versa? How did that come about?
I think Empress Chili might have been the first one, and a few other places. Skyline came later. Dixie came. I think they've been around since the 1930s. So even if it was a ripoff, they've been around long enough to where they can, represent their own.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I just Googled it. It says 1929. So
There we go.
Dixie Chili. Pretty wild.
And what's the difference? What's making me get it that one over the other one?
Their chili's much better. To me, Skyline chili's kind of bland. And
It's like watered
Dixie's-
down.
Dixie's actually, it has a bit more of a cinnamon taste. So that's kind of the weird thing with Cincinnati chili is they do use some cinnamon in it and some chocolate and some weird ingredients at times. And Dixie has more of that, I guess, cinnamon taste, a little bit spicier, much better.
Dixie Chili, Drew, next time you're in town here in a couple weeks, we'll go over there and try that one.
All right, there it is.
If you had to pick one song as your theme song, what would it be?
Frank Sinatra, New York, New York. Only because, since I've worked in the clubs in 1998, the first club I worked at, the closing song would be New York, New York. And it just stuck. So for 25 years, at the end of the night, we always play New York, New York, Frank Sinatra at every venue. I think I even told Fuse, like, hey, you got to play this. Come on. It's tradition at this point.
Play it every night, and when we kick people out, and sometimes people are doing the leg kicks, and sometimes they're like, what the fuck is happening right now? So
So I love it. I love an off the wall closing song. And Frank, when I die, I'm going to be morbid here for a second, but I want the I Did It My Way song.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Favorite remixer or producer? It doesn't have to be necessarily in the DJ world. It can be music in general.
Like I think my favorite DJ for years was like I really liked Avicii stuff. I could put on an Avicii album and drive anywhere. That was like my road trip music. So it was a sad, with his situation, but I think Avicii for producer for sure.
Yeah.
I need to go back and listen to, like his albums. When you're so immersed in it and it's always single after single, you just dismiss the overall work of art that he's putting out. It's just you're going if it's a hit and you move it along. So I need to go back and revisit.
Good road trip music. It's always a lot of it's upbeat and happy and it's good stuff.
Yeah, I some of his music when I hear it now, like I'll hear somebody play something or like I'll hear it, I don't know, like in somebody else's mix or something and I'm like, "Oh shit, I forgot about that one. That's a good one." The Nights. That's one people keep asking for recently too. Avicii,
Thanks,
The
TikTok.
Nights. Yeah. Is that Drew, have you gotten any of that recently?
I have not.
I've gotten The Nights a lot recently.
If anybody asks for Avicii, I just give them the at remix of Levels.
the air horn one.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
The Nights. Which one is that?
Someday we'll leave this world behind. These are the nights that we'll remember. That's the.
I don't even remember it when it came out.
That's how it goes. All right. What is when in doubt, if the dance floor is clearing, what's a song that you would drop to bring them all back?
Usher, yeah. I think that's been the one for years and years. I think even in the 18 and up club, even you can still drop that in and they're down with it. So and then obviously the older crowd, that song's been around a long time now. It stood the test of time for sure.
I was in Vegas with the Digital Dave, who thinks that song shouldn't be played anymore, and it was Martin Garrix's opener dropped it, and I looked at him, and he just kind of smirked. But it's peak hour, like 12:30 in Vegas, and he drops it. And it was a good little chuckle for me here. Shout out Digital Dave on that one. That's your jam.
Digital Dave. Okay, a left turn song that you would play, like something that's kind of off the wall, but it works.
That's difficult. Well, I haven't really DJ'd much in the last year, so oh man.
You've played some here and there, but yeah.
Well, with me kind of MCing a lot, I mean, I can kind of just jump around to anything, and it becomes more of a. I mean, I guess Journey, Don't Stop Believing. It's kind of one of those goofy songs. If you set it up right, like I could get on the mic and just say, all right, this is for all the drunk people and drop it in. And again, even at the 18 and up club, it's like, okay. And at the older clubs, they're obviously down with it, but that would be a good left turn.
All right. Let's see. What is a good one-word insult that's not a curse word?
Lazy.
Yes. I will take that all day.
Well, that just described half the DJs in the world.
Yeah. That describes that Starbucks guy that's beating me up for $1 tip. Just do your cheap job anyways, and just give me my Starbucks. You know what I'm saying?
Drew, you were hung up on the Starbucks guy today. He must have said something to you. He must have been like, you look like Bert Kreischer or something that really set you off today because you're hung up on it.
He's like leaning out the window, and I'm trying to tap the card, and the dumb fucking card won't go because it's like this. I gotta click a small little window to give him a tip. Pissed.
All right, so here's a good question. If you weren't a full-time DJ, what would you be doing? Well, you're not necessarily a full-time DJ anymore, but even, thinking back to when you're DJing full-time or if you had to change career paths.
I always said I would be a chef. I think my first job was actually what we were talking about earlier, Pompilio's in Newport. And I started out bussing tables. I was 14. And then I started, washing dishes and then prep cook. So I did that, through my, I guess, early high school years. And I enjoyed it. And I still enjoy it. I still enjoy cooking and kind of developing menu items and stuff. So probably be a chef. At one time, I think I wanted to be a truck driver, because I like driving. So I'm like, this is great. So I think over the years, there was a few things, there were a few things that I kind of enjoyed doing, and I thought this whole DJ thing doesn't pan out. I could do this and enjoy it. But chef would be number one.
I was gonna say when we had our last DMS party officially, Kevin and Warren had Chef Sean O'Neill, who won Master Chef, cook for us, and he DJs as well. And he was, he's always said to us while he's like cooking that there's a lot of similarities between DJing and cooking. Like one, for example, that always stood out is like no one dish is ever the same. It's kind of like DJing a night. Like no one night is ever the same as the last night before. And I just always thought his comparisons of cooking to DJing were always kind of cool.
I was going to say something totally opposite, is if you combined your truck driving with that, you could have had a food truck.
Yes. Reality show. Be a semi driver that stops on the side of the roads and, cooks my gourmet meals.
I like that.
Yeah.
The extended cab is where you do all the cooking, and then the back is just the cargo.
Yep.
Might run out of space, might get pretty tight there, but
yeah,
it'd be working. All right, so one of the things today we wanted to talk a little bit about is Drew. Well, I kind of partook for the most part. I did a dry January, and it had a little small chance of showers when we were in Vegas. But Drew has been continuing his dry January. He hasn't had a drink since last year. You are almost 3 years sober now. Just kind of your experience with that, and what kind of led you to that.
Don't call it 3 years sober. It sounds like I had a problem. Well, even that is an interesting thing to say, because a lot of times when I tell people like, well, I don't drink anymore, and they go, what happened? It's like, nothing happened. Well, for one, I got older, got more responsibilities, and just kind of got old itself. I started in the clubs when I was 17 years old, and probably at 17 years old, it was like, oh yeah, I'll have a drink. All right. And I think I partied every weekend for all those years. It normally never spilled over like during the week. I wasn't a raging alcoholic, but I was a weekend warrior. I was partying every weekend like most of us do. And I stopped drinking when I was opening another bar, mainly because I'm like, I got so much to do. I don't want to be hungover. My weekends are packed, jam packed and busy anyway. I'm going to quit for a while. I'm going to start running. I'm going to get healthier. And plus I don't want to be in the bar every day, for the first couple months of it open. And I was there a lot, and it's somebody's birthday every day that wants to do a shot. Right. So like, I can't do it, so I stopped for a while, and then the pandemic hit, and thank goodness I stopped then, before then, because I would have been partying way too much. And then it just kind of stuck, and then I really don't miss it anymore. And I guess if I do miss it, there's ways like, I'm like, oh, well, I'll have a Heineken Zero, there's some options now. That's kind of cool. So yeah, I guess it's been, like 3.5 years at this point. Kind of hard to believe.
And because I haven't missed it either, but I went out with friends last night and for a birthday celebration, like you're saying, and that's when it's hard. But once you get past 5 minutes of being like, everyone got their drinks and you're just moving along, then it's just the same.
Yeah. I think it's a lot of times I wake up on Saturday and Sunday mornings now, and I'm like, I feel great. I'm going to get some stuff done. Whereas before it's like, well, last night was fun, but I would look back and be like, by me partying hard every weekend, I would lose 30-40% of my week would just be wasted by being wasted or by being hungover. So my productivity shot through the roof. And then I wound up figuring out, like, I don't know if I really miss drinking as much as, I guess it's the atmosphere that excites you a lot of times. Like, I still go to the clubs and I walk in and I get that same excited feeling. I thought the drinking was giving me that excited feeling. I mean, it's enhancing it a little bit. I won't lie about that. But a lot of times you feel the same when you go out after you get used to it. Yeah, I'm a pro at it now.
We've had a couple guys on the show recently that have quit drinking that are DJs. Is there any tips or like advice you would have for somebody who's wanting to, make that jump from drinking to not drinking?
Don't be afraid to, I guess, talk to somebody and get help. And even just admitting, like, did I have a problem? I mean, yeah, to a normal person standard, do I have a problem? Like, if you start comparing yourself to, like, my mom doesn't drink at all. So she would look at what I was doing, was like, wow, you got a problem. You guys would be like, That's perfect. That's normal, like in our industry, right? And I think that's part of the thing is like in the bar business, the club business, it's like, what's wrong with getting blackout drunk every Friday, Saturday night? You know, I wouldn't do it every Friday, Saturday, but many of them, and I would have a blast. But
if you go to the doctor and you have to fill out that form that says if
Oh.
you've had 1 or 2 drinks daily or
You're
a
a raging
week,
alcoholic. Yeah.
where's the 10 plus daily mark box?
Yeah. So I started talking to a therapist around that time anyway, really to deal with like stress management, because a lot of times when I was drinking was because of the stress. A lot of times it was because it was just a bad habit. You know, it's just there, it's free, you know, it's everybody's doing it kind of thing. I was never peer pressured much. I was normally the one that was doing the peer pressure, like, let's drink, you know. But I started talking to a therapist and I still talk to him. And we haven't talked about drinking in 3 years or more. You know, we talk about stress. We talk about just dealing with that better is kind of what I noticed, you know, kind of having 100 things, you know, going on how to deal with the stress and that. But I guess, yeah, don't be afraid to talk to somebody and even reach out to me and talk to me, even, you know, some of the DJ guys, because I've been there, you know, I've been you know, in their shoes as well, you know, for many years. And then now being on the other side of it, you know, it's definitely, it can be tough, I think, because over the years, there were many times when I'm like, all right, man, I'm not going to drink for a month or a few months. And it's hard, you know, 2 days later, you're at the club and like, okay, all right, let's have some fun. Because it is, you know, and you do miss the fun, you know, you miss the fun of it, I guess, but it's just like anything else, you know. You break up with a girlfriend, you miss her for a little while. Like, oh, that sucks. You break up with drinking, it's kind of like you miss it for a little while. Then eventually you're like, I hate that drinking thing anyway. Like, I hate her anyway. Kind of, you know, like I'm sick of her. I'm glad we got out of that.
Before seeing a therapist to seeing a therapist, did you ever have like any thoughts in your head of like, oh, like how it would be to like how it actually was? Was it like the first time you made the appointment or seek to the help, was there any hesitation or like was there anything that was like scary of essentially like that was kind of holding you back from doing it before?
I think just kind of taking that leap and just going with it. I mean, it's expensive, you know, that's part of it. Like, you know, but you know, I guess the older I get, the more it's like, well, you can't put a price tag on your health, you know, and a lot of times stress, and even just in this business, our horrible sleep patterns for most of us, you know, takes a toll on that also. So once you start addressing a lot of those things, you realize like, I don't really need to go out and party tonight, you know. I don't need drink as much as I think I do, you know. You're just dealing with the stress of it. But yeah, once you get over kind of what, you know, the hump of like trying something new, it's just like talking like we are now. I do a Zoom meeting with them now, I think like once a month, and we just kind of check in and go over stuff.
Well, I think that's you know, good information, and I can say firsthand too, if anybody is thinking about you know, wanting to talk to somebody or wanted to know more, Danny would help you out with that, you know, if you messaged him or wanted to ask any questions. So it'd be a good person to ask on that. And I forgot to ask this in the rapid fire questions is a funny DJ story or a memorable DJ story, and if there's anything that comes to mind. I know you were on the radio for forever, and there's a lot of stories that come with that.
With the Cincinnati hat, Drew, it reminds me of the first time the Reds made the playoffs. And I mean, it might have been 20 years or something maybe. And at the time I was like, you know, their official DJ, which, you know, then the official DJ just kind of DJ'd out front as people were coming in, or I would DJ at little different like sections of the ballpark. They put me on the Jumbotron a couple times playing some music. And that was a fun gig. I did that for 5 or 6 years. And luckily I was in that spot when they made the playoffs. And I'll always remember that. It's been several years now. My biggest regret is like, I should have had a whole film crew there with me, documenting everything. And DJs, you should do that now. That's something I regret now, is like, man, I should have just had somebody with a camera following me, you know, video, photos, everything. Cause I did so many cool things, and a lot of it, you know, busy and just, oh yeah, got a couple pictures, but you know, to document it professionally. But I was DJing right at the entrance to the ballpark, which I don't know how many people does the ballpark fuse? How many they
It's
hold?
like around 50,000. I think it's like
So probably
46 plus.
yeah,
Yeah.
probably with standing room is 50,000 or so, and I'd say 90% of the crowd comes through that entranceway, and just mobs of people were there an hour before the gates open. So tens of thousands of people were there, and I'm DJing. And I just remember that I had all this music planned out. Like, I'm going to play this. I'm going to play this. It's going to be great. Well, it wound up just being like people are in front of me for 5, 6, 7 minutes or so because they're walking in, they're walking through the gate, and they're in the ballpark. I think it was about, an hour into the set. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna play the same 5 songs and just quick mix over and over and over because I mean the atmosphere was insane. Tens of thousands of people just walking by and they're jumping up and down, and it was like they're only in front of me for 5 minutes, and so I'm playing like Zombie Nation and all these like cool edits that I had of really hype like music that you would think like, oh, we got a playoff game coming up, like those really hype songs. So I wound up playing like the same tracks just over and over and over because it was a whole new crop of people. And I'd say probably for an hour straight, as they're all coming in, I was doing that. But, I guess as a DJ, a lot of DJs would be like, really? I can't believe you did that. It's like, trust me, it was the perfect 5 songs for, that scenario. And everybody that came in was like, it just couldn't get any better, So that was a neat one.
It's hilarious.
Is there anything else that sticks out in terms of people that you've met? Even over the years in the club, I know you've had tons of people, Coolio, Vanilla Ice, Bubba Sparks, all these people you've had at the club. Is there anything that sticks out with any of them?
I think, well, when I was a kid, Wyclef Jean was my favorite, the Fugees,
Oh, yeah.
And we had him show up when Sweetest Girl was coming out. I guess middle 2000s, I think. And I was DJing at a club then, and I was on the radio then. And he came through like kind of a surprise thing. And we were broadcasting from one of the clubs that night. So he showed up and wound up kind of performing a couple songs, while I played, his backing track, whatever. So that was neat to be able to, play his songs while he performed right next to me, kind of growing up as a favorite artist. We were just talking about it recently because of the Super Bowl. Rihanna was at in Newport, Kentucky, across from downtown Cincinnati, at a mall, basically, a small like mall too. And there might have been 300 people there that came and watched her perform. And Ponder Replay was out. It was, I knew it. It was like a club song. Radio was like kind of playing it, but not much. So Rihanna was there, and there was only a few hundred people. She was 16 or 17, I think. I think she was 17 or something. And I was backstage, and I wound up, I introduced her to the crowd, and I'm backstage with her, and she's nervous as can be, and it's just me, Rihanna, and one of the other radio hosts. And I'm going, you nervous? You're fine. You'll do good, kind of thing. It's funny now looking at it now. Here she is on the Super Bowl in front of millions of people. And you did do fine. you were good. But to see her from that small stage to the huge stage, that was really neat.
Yeah, definitely. That's quite the journey. And she did it pregnant, and I'm sure she was not. I mean, maybe nervous, but I'm sure she's done a billion of events by this point.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
One of the things as well that we wanted to talk to you about today is just, your transition from DJing to taking over the club, and then a second business and more, and kind of how that went about.
So, yeah, I started, like I said, when I was pretty young in the business, and I was still pretty young when I started on the radio. I was 22 maybe when I got on the radio, and I was on there for 15 years. I wound up, because of the radio, being the DJ that all the businesses booked when they're like, well, we need this fixed. Like, we're not busy. Let's just call the radio, and they'll have the DJ come in and we'll be packed. And it's like, that's not how it works. So early on, I got sick of being called in to be Mr. Fix-It and going, they expect it to be busy, but like there's graffiti on the walls, the floors are dirty, the door people are rude, the bartenders are horrible. There's all these things wrong, and they're calling me to fix their business. And it's like, no. And eventually I started telling the people like, hey, well, I'll be honest, what about this, this, and that? And over time I started looking for those things like, because I didn't want to get the blame. I got sick of it.
John
I'm like,
Tafford.
yeah, I was the early John Taffer, from the DJ world. And sometimes it would work, when they would call us in, and sometimes it wouldn't. And more often than not, it wouldn't. So they would pay me good money, to come and broadcast from the radio. And well, let's try a Friday night at, our venue, and the radio will be there. And it's like, you just can't do that. It takes more than that. So I started noticing all the problems.
What I think they're trying to do is they want the radio to announce that you're going to be playing there, right? But
yeah,
don't you usually they have to charge or pay extra to get that, but they still want to do that and get the flyer for it? Yeah.
Well, some places would though. Some places would pay for it, and those would be the ones that would really ride us. Like, why aren't we busy? And it's like, I could give them a laundry list. And eventually, I started. We did another live broadcast. We would go completely live on Saturday nights with a show called Club Kiss, where we would plug in through an ISDN line. It was high quality, and we would be completely live from like 10 p.m. to midnight or 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. What was on the radio was also in the club. Really challenging, to still throw a party, but stick to the radio format. But, we did that for years, and some places would pay for that. Metropolis, which was about 25 minutes north of downtown Cincinnati. I DJ'd there, and same thing. They hired me to come in on Saturday nights because their Saturdays were kind of dying, and we did the live broadcast from there. They didn't want to hire me because they were like, "Oh, that's a city DJ. We don't want him. We're on the suburbs. We don't want him coming up here and playing all that city, junk." And but I came up and kind of ease their concerns after the first night. Like, I'm a professional. I'm not just some, drunk, downtown DJ that's kind of invading your territory. And it only took a few weeks. Go ahead.
Well, I have a question. I'm shocked that I didn't realize that they were actually playing it live. I thought they just told you that, and then you ran the club and played a mix, right? Because that's what it always sounded like on the. I mean, it just sounds like so much work for. Is anybody really listening to the exact same song on the radio as they walk in the door? Like, no one would know for all that extra work.
Oh, he'd be live because I can remember texting them back like the last days he would do it, and there'd be like a girl in the car, and I'd be like, "Yo, say the girl's name I'm with. Can give us a shout out."
Yeah. Wow, there were times when it would be recorded. There would be times when it would be recorded, and it's live, the magic of radio. But I mean, it was, to me, I always miss those days of being completely live. If you mess up, you mess up. And you just roll with it. The pre-recorded stuff definitely is just not as fun, but we wound up doing the Saturday nights there. Their Saturdays improved like right off the bat. They kind of had a DJ there that was kind of on the outs. He was ready to quit anyway, so he wasn't that into it. I was still pretty young and excited, and they wound up bringing me on kind of full-time as their DJ. I wound up sliding in like Thursday, Friday, Saturdays, and that's when it was like, okay, well, you need to get your lights fixed on the dance floor. You have two lights that are just bouncing around, like you got to do something with that. And then that's when they kind of said, well, do you want to like just handle our advertising and promotions? Because same thing over the years from being in radio and going into these venues that are failing, I would be like, I see why they're failing. It was kind of obvious to me. And they hired me full time. I didn't want to do it. I was like, I'm just a party DJ. I'm just like having fun in my 20s. Like, I don't want to have a real job. This sucks. But I wound up doing it. And obviously it's great that I did. And I learned even more over the years and worked with those guys for probably 6 or 7 years. They opened a new club in downtown Cincinnati called Pulse Nightclub. And I was the one that did all the advertising and promotions for that to kind of launch it. And they still didn't listen to me 100% on everything, maybe 75%. And eventually that was open for 3 years. The owners at the time wanted to go and they had some other business stuff that they were doing. They wanted to get out of the business. I called up the owner and said, hey, remember all those problems that were happening years ago when you hired me and that's why you hired me to fix them? They're all happening again. The boat's sinking. I don't want to be in this boat and be the only one paddling. That's kind of the conversation. And he said, well, we want to sell the place anyway. We're done with it. You know anybody that wants to buy a nightclub? And I said, me. Again, I might have had $1,000 in the bank, if that, right? I was a DJ. DJs, you can make good money. I made good money with the radio and DJing, but I also spent it as quick as I could get it and was having fun. I think at the time I was early 30s and traveling a lot, just living it up, just living the fun DJ lifestyle. So I didn't have a ton of money. I didn't come from a ton of money, but I said, oh, I want to, I'd love to. So the conversation started where it was kind of in a weird position to where if I were to just up and leave, it would have made it tougher on them. So it was in their best interest. And just we were cool. I helped them out a lot for years, and they really helped me out with that. I want to buy in the club and just saying, hey, you can just pay us off with the profits. You can take over. Here's the deal. Here's the price. Just pay us off week by week. And the first week I took over, the first thing I did was a couple events. I think like a paint party. Like a glow paint party was like, I've been wanting to do this, but they never wanted to do it. Like record numbers, the first weekend, we made it a big deal. Like, oh, the DJ's buying the club. Cause it's a dream, right? For a DJ in a way to be like, here, you can do what you want at this club. It's like, can I? All right. This is fun. So I took over, like we did record numbers that first weekend. I took the profits from that and went, and one of my buddies, I drove actually to Indiana and bought a foam machine to throw a foam party, like $2,500, put a trailer on my car and drove and picked up a foam machine, did a foam party the next week. Something else they just never wanted to deal with the headache because it is. But we did that, record numbers again. Then they were like, actually, we're going to need some money down. We're going to need some money down out of those profits, So we worked it all out and wound up paying off the club in about 6 months.
Wow.
It was a club that was ready to close, at the time. Business was bad and I was ready to jump ship. Paid it off. And then built up enough cash again to basically we need to rebrand it. At that time it was 3 or 4 years old.
Well, wait, before you go too much farther, I have a question. So there's a couple things that they didn't want to do. They didn't want to do this glow party. They didn't want to do that. And that's amazing. But what was the other problems? Did you have to fire the staff? You clean house with that? What? It couldn't have just been those 2 parties that changed the whole club.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. I mean, did you fire the staff? Like what? I mean, you're John Tafford. What are you doing? Right.
I think 95% of them left or were fired. I think it was actually kind of left like, hey, he's going to reach out if he still needs your help kind of thing, Okay. And, yeah, a lot of them just, bad attitudes, doing all the wrong things, security guards, roughing people up, the same things that were problems back in the day. So yeah, I'd say 95% of the staff left, which was another challenge to be like, I got to staff a whole nightclub that's going to be packed in 5 days, 6 days. But we made that happen. And, that helped help turn it around as well. And just the hype of kind of, I called in every favor possible at the time. Like,
of course,
I think we were actually still doing the radio broadcast too. So we had that platform, which was still a pretty solid platform at the time to really promote on. I had a budget at that point to run some advertising on social media, which we were normally, we were one of the first around that utilized social media years ago, whereas some bars and clubs still don't mess with it, where we were really early on. We booked a big party too from Major League Baseball was in town for the All-Star game, and they booked the club on a Sunday night after the home run derby to have all the players and stuff come in. So that was
I used to do those parties. I did 3 of them. I did Anaheim. What was the other one? And Phoenix. Yeah. So it's a Players Association party. I know exactly the one. Yeah.
We might have worked with a lot of the same people. A lot of them were nice. A lot of them were not.
Yeah.
It was a tough. Yeah. They're tough to deal with. I think because at the time, again, I was broke DJ / club owner that's trying to make it work, and they were so hard to deal with, and I think they were so used to just getting whatever they wanted because they're Major League Baseball, right? So we butted heads a lot. Yeah,
they were really strict and about what they needed, and just
they were tough to deal with. But that was actually, I mean, it was a decent opportunity to start cleaning the club up and doing some of the work on the back end as that was coming up. We did the party. And then that was like, okay, we're going to relaunch as Energy Nightclub. We were down for maybe 2 weeks to kind of do some of the big work. And then we came back as a different, venue. And now it's been 7 years, that the club's been there, which is an eternity for nightclubs in Cincinnati and maybe in, some other parts of the country. And I guess, with that, during that time frame, I guess, partied pretty hard for a few years, having fun running the club, and then started realizing like, well, this club is not going to last forever. I need to, venture out and do other stuff. And I always wanted to, and I always thought I would own a bar or club really early on. It was kind of always just, in the back of my head that's what I wanted to do. And then Fishbowl, which is my other bar in downtown that Fuse DJs at on Fridays, that came about, and launched that about 3 or 4 months before the pandemic happened. And I once again on that, I was all in. I had every dollar into that to open it, and then the pandemic hit, and it was like a little time frame there where I'm like, I don't know if I can survive this, storm. Like, but we got through that. We got through it really with just hustling, working hard. I mean, we were on the news the next day after the pandemic happened, doing live streams for the musicians. Like, I had the musicians doing live streams for tips, because right away I was like, what are the DJs and musicians going to do? They don't get unemployment, So we were on the news and kind of went viral with that. The day after the shutdowns happened, about midway through the pandemic, opportunity came up to expand Fishbowl. We doubled the size, doubled the patio, or tripled the patio size even during that time frame. It's been a big whirlwind, but both places are doing better than they've ever done.
And was that it was another bar that you just kind of took over and rebranded the whole name?
No, Fishbowl was an empty space that we completely built out. But then next door was actually a Tervis store, like the cups, Tervis cups, like Yeti cups kind of. And it was just a little retail store that they had there. We're right by the ballpark. They basically, I think their lease was up, or they were just like, we're done. Pandemic, nobody's buying anything anyway.
They were really just tired of the cups falling off the shelves, and Danny had to buy cups every weekend that he was breaking.
I did. That did happen. We spent a lot of money trying to soundproof stuff, and it just didn't work. And there was one. I think one like Sunday, I did have to come in and buy like $200 worth of Yeti or Tervis cups, because they were rattling off the shelves and denting them or breaking them, and like I thought they were unbreakable.
Yeah.
One of the things too that, was impressive to me is just, and somebody, that I now enjoy working for, is during the times when things got hard, you could have went, whatever, but instead you rolled up your sleeves and, said, how can we make this better? Or how can we keep doing what we're doing, and stay afloat? When you came up with, we do the bingo now, which has been a very successful thing at the bar, and that all happened through just us talking on the phone. And how can we keep people in their seats during these restrictions? How can we do something fun for people to come to the bar? How do we get them there, keep them there, and be entertaining during a time where it was footloose. We weren't allowed to entertain.
Yeah, no dancing. Yeah, we wound up renting like a big heated tent to put out front, and it was like a few $1,000s a month. And at the time, I think we could only sit like 25 people, at one time. It's like, how in the hell am I going to pay for this tent? Where there were 5 more tables in there. And that's when Tipsy Bingo, we started that promotion on Tuesdays, and we would fill up every seat. People would be there an hour early to grab a seat. And now we do it 3 times a week because it becomes so it got so popular. So yeah, I mean, I'm still in the trenches working, trying to figure things out.
To just go back just a little bit, what was the inspiration behind the branding of the Fishbowl?
I was working with a partner at the time, and I think it was just one of those where I travel to Florida a lot. We don't have beautiful blue waters. We have dirty, brown, murky Ohio River waters to stare at. And so I travel a lot to Florida and tropical places, and it's just something you see a lot. And there was, and one of my partners, kind of the same thing. He was like, hey, let's, I want to do a bar, where they serve drinks in fish bowls. And I'm like, that'd be cool. I'm going to call it Fishbowl. I was like, I don't know about the name. All right. Cause then you're only going to be known as, oh, that place only has fish bowls. I don't want to go there. But even with that's kind of how my brain works, is I go, well, that's a problem. Let's fix it. How do we come up with some other cool stuff to where people don't know of us just as like, oh, Fishbowl just has fish bowls. Like now we're just kind of known as like, we're always doing some fun stuff. We always have good entertainment. And it's always a party, so it just started with the drink really and just evolved from there.
Yeah.
And one of the things we do at Fishbowl too is, there's live entertainment a lot, during the week. And Drew, you've been there when we've had, entertainment and requesting Kokomo from whoever was playing at the time. So I think it's
best
fun,
songs.
you know. It's in a it's in a good area of town, and it's very much, you know, unique to what's going on there versus everywhere else around it. And with that being said, there is a new spot coming. Do you kind of want to tell them about that?
So, it's been several years. I traced my ancestry back, you know, on the 23andMe, and some of my family tree goes back to Ireland. And me and Fuse actually would always joke, like, every time we go out of town, we always wind up in the Irish pubs. I've always been a fan of Irish pubs. And we started discussing some different concept ideas, and it's been on my mind for a long time for, you know, to try an Irish pub out. We were actually on a flight back from the Bar and Restaurant convention in Vegas, where we just saw some things that it was like, that'd be cool for an Irish pub, right? And so the wheels were cranking, and on that flight, I was on the computer at probably 2 a.m. because it was the red eye, and I was looking up, well, if I'm going to open an Irish pub, I at least want like the floors to be like wood from Ireland, or the tables, or just something like. And so I emailed a company and just said, hey, do you guys sell like floors that you make in Ireland that I could buy and we could put, you know, whatever? And he said, no, we don't really do that, but try this guy. Sent me an email to a guy, sent him basically the same email. And he said, actually, I have a vintage bar that was taken out of a pub that was, it was torn down for a condo development. The pub was built in 1957. It was a popular place in town overlooking the Irish Sea in Mullaghide, Ireland. And he said, I have this bar. And he sent me some pictures. And right away I said, okay, that's cool. I could go and buy a bar, bring it from Ireland, bring it to Cincinnati. The next week or two, I think 2 weeks, I was on a flight to Ireland to meet the guy. Walked into his warehouse where he sells, you know, bar and restaurant equipment, hotel equipment. He sells a lot of that stuff. And this is kind of like his pride that he does on the side, kind of like, I don't want all this beautiful work to just go to waste for some condo, right? So I walk in and I had my eye on all these pictures of this beautiful bar for weeks at this point. I was in there for maybe 10 minutes, and we're standing there, and I said, I'm gonna buy the bar. And he about cried, you know, like, are you serious? I'm like, yes, let's load it up. Let's figure this out. And because at the time in Ireland, they were still just coming out of, this was in April of last year. They were just a month or two restrictions. So I'm sure business for them even was like rough, you know, like him being in that business, it's like they really had to weather a storm. So I'm sure a purchase like that, you know, definitely helped. And just the connection, you know, that I had with it, and the connection that I had with him, and the whole story of, you know, this bar is getting a new life in a new city, was a really neat thing. So we sat down. I wound up buying a bunch of stools that were custom made right there in their shop. The musician that makes, or the guy that makes the stools actually plays music at Temple Bar, the most popular bar in Ireland, you know, probably the most popular Irish pub in the world. And he's the one that does the upholstery on the stools and stuff. So I kept in contact with Mick in Ireland, and it was probably maybe a month later, we had this bar, 18-foot long bar packed into a shipping container. And it took 57 days to get across the ocean to Cincinnati. Arrived in Virginia, got on a train, and showed up in Cincinnati the day after it. Like, I got a notification like, the bar's in, you know, the Irish bar just arrived in America, and it's like, cool. And the next day it's like, hey, it's here. Like, what? Oh my God. So I'm calling up Fuse like, hey, tomorrow we need to be at the club. We need to unload this and put it in storage. During this whole time frame, we were developing ideas. The name was already picked, actually. So the name is Red Leprechaun Irish Pub. So Red Leprechaun.
Which I know I might have mentioned it, but where Drew is in Long Beach, there was the Red Leprechaun, which we ended up, that was where the domain and everything came from, was where right down the street from where he lives.
Yeah, literally down the street. We used to go, and they would have Irish bands and whatnot. I'm curious what the name comes from, where the inspiration for you was. I mean, it had already come up, but I didn't really ever ask them when I was there what that came from.
Kind of with the tradition of the Irish pub, it's actually more traditional for it to be a red leprechaun. There's a leprechaun museum in Dublin, Ireland. Before I even picked the name, I kind of already knew, but I went to the Leprechaun Museum to confirm it. It's kind of funny. But leprechauns originally were illustrated. They were red. They were like brown pants and red, jackets. So leprechauns were red traditionally. It wasn't until I think the 1950s that Walt Disney did a movie and they were green. For whatever reason, he said, I want them to be green. I don't want them to be red. And then now we think of leprechauns as green, but traditionally
Disney
they were
made
red.
them green. Wow.
So yeah, around the 1950s when that happened. So sticking to the tradition, they're red leprechauns. Cincinnati Reds ballpark is right up the street. That's kind of, could be a cool tie-in. We have a lot of old Reds memorabilia to hang up.
There's a lot of ties with the Reds, with Ireland too. The Reds do like a once a year, they wear like an Irish jersey and like all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty cool as well.
Yeah. The first Major League Baseball player, the first Irish Major League Baseball player played for the Reds. Also, there's a lot of fun tie-ins, I think, with it. We've been working hard developing that. And actually, I don't know if you've told anybody Fuse, but Fuse is going to be part owner in this business. Yeah. He's making the same leap that I made.
Yeah, so we've hinted on here a little bit that that I've just been busy with stuff with that, but that is this is the official announcement. So that's what kind of been going on in the background for almost a year now that we've been kind of working on this, and kind of started with, okay, we have this idea and we're gonna do this, and we were looking at spaces, and I initially the space was, and the idea was, we're just going to take this bar and put it into a little 1,800 square foot space somewhere and make it this cool little spot. And then that kind of changed. Do you want to kind of talk about that some?
Yeah, I knew that the location we're at in downtown is called the Banks. It's our entertainment district, packed with bars, packed every weekend. It's the place you really want to be, in downtown. If you're even just a decent operator, you're going to make good money down there. And if you have a decent concept, you're going to do well. We were looking at other spots around town and nothing was really standing out. And I pitched the idea of Red Leprechaun before I even had the bar from Ireland. I had the idea to do a bar, to do this Irish pub, Red Leprechaun. And I pitched the idea to, one of the big developers in Cincinnati, and they were kind of like, yeah, cool. Okay, whatever. Pitched it to my current landlords at the time, where I have Fishbowl. This is going to be like a block and a half from Fishbowl as well. I pitched it to them. They're like, oh yeah, cool. Okay, we'll keep it in mind. And just one ear and out the other. I was on the phone with one of the landlords and actually said, oh, I'm not sure if I'll be there next week. I think I'll be in Ireland. She's like, oh, that's cool. What are you doing to Ireland for? I said that on purpose. I was planting the seed. I said, oh, I'm going to buy this Irish bar to bring back to Cincinnati to put back together, and, saved it from a landfill to open a bar that I mentioned before called Red Leprechaun. She's like, oh, where are you putting that? I'll probably in downtown somewhere. Well, we do have this spot, Danny. Now all of a sudden they want to talk, because it is a neat story. And now it has a lot more history to it. And, if you're going to be in an Irish pub in Cincinnati, it's kind of cool to be sitting at a bar that came from Ireland and has so much history and is such a beautiful piece.
So it is down by the Banks, or it's near the Banks. Where exactly is it for this?
It'll be a block and a half up from Fishbowl. We're the closest. There's a couple bars and restaurants by the football stadium. We're the closest bar. We're gonna have food, but we're an Irish pub first. We're the closest ones right to the football stadium, and directly across the street from the Andrew J. Brady Music Center, which they threw
where we saw Jack White, Drew, there. So we're just on the side that's closer to the Bengal Stadium from the Red Stadium.
Well, you said you're a bar first, but you are going to have food. Are you living out your dream and you're going to create the menu from scratch?
Partially. I actually brought on, speaking of Bar Rescue, Brian Duffy was on Bar Rescue on several episodes, and he's done a lot of stuff. He's done a few things around town too, and he does menu consulting. So I got with him right away and said, hey, got this Irish pub. He loves the idea. So he's going to be brought on as the menu consultant to design it all. But I'm going to be right there next to him, because I think it's important that, for me, I want to be involved in kind of the development of that, and even just the documentation of it, and how do we implement this. And so I'll be right next to him. So it's a baby step into my real dream of being a chef. So we're getting there.
And then all you need is the food truck parked out back, so you could live the double dream. The double dream's coming soon.
I'm buying a semi. There's gonna be a food truck on the back, and I'm gonna. If you guys need anything shipped, just let me know. I'll ship it across the country. Be in Vegas in 2 days.
It's all in one.
One of the things that's cool too with Brian is like he specializes in Irish cuisine. And with that being said, we're not going to be fully, like only Irish food there. It's going to be very much like an Irish American Cincinnati take on a lot of things. And, but it is cool that that's kind of one of the things that he's specialized in. And, the goal is just to have really good food that people want to come back for, making it, the chicken tenders so good that you like we got to go have those,
Is there going to be any chili and noodles with cheese like stew?
Now that you mention it, we're going to do a Guinness beef stew 3-way.
Extra,
we actually have a couple
chili and noodles.
We have a couple ideas of things that we're going to try to bring some Cincinnati into it, to the Irish cuisine. That'll be kind of a fun little take on some traditional things.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as far as drinks, it's a bar first, right? So Guinness on tap, right? Of course.
Yep.
Whiskey on tap, whiskey slushies, anything along those lines.
Well, since Fuse went to bartending school, that's his department at this point. We'll find out.
Yeah, some of that's got to be worked out still. But one of the cool things that we did get, and Danny got from Mick as well, is we have this Guinness. The tap is actually a harp. We've only seen them. I don't know. It must have like fallen off the back of the truck or something. I don't know how it ended up there. That now we have it, but we have only seen them at Guinness in Dublin. That's the only other place we've seen these taps. So
some drunk college kid probably stole it, and now we have it. And hey, we mentioned it we showed it to the Guinness rep, and he's like, "Yeah, I haven't seen that. Yeah, I don't know where you got that."
Yeah,
so
wow, it's kind of cool.
Amazing.
Yeah, and there's just some other, one of the things I think that is cool, and with this that we're doing, is nothing is fake. Everything is authentic, antique wise. All the bric-a-brac, as they call it, that'll be like up on the wall. There is nothing that's a reproduction. It's all real antique. Danny's, been going out and finding this stuff. Or if, there's a poster guy here in town, anytime something comes across his way, he gives him a call. Hey, we got this in. Or same with Mick back in Ireland. Anytime he gets something that he thinks we might be interested in, he's calling us up going, hey, you guys have any interest in this? And, we've gotten some pretty neat stuff like Guinness. We have Guinness ads and Guinness posters from the 1950s that, are going to be up in the walls, and obviously they're going to be framed up so, people can't be assholes and destroy them. But, because that's just what people do in bars.
This is a music show, and we are a DJ show. What kind of music is going to be played there? Do you plan on having DJs or even just live entertainment? What's the goal for that?
Live music a lot of times, and DJs on the weekends, or DJs for, like, if it's a football game, we'll probably have a DJ before and after. Fuse will be there. I might have to come out of retirement because it's hard to find DJs. We already talked about it. I said, at least when we're launching this thing, I might be at the club. Fuse might be there, or vice versa. So everything we do is very music driven. Even from our sound system, I only work with one sound guy. I won't use anybody else. As long as he wants to work with me, I only work with him. He used to do a lot of work with cruise lines. He would install speakers in the whole cruise ship, so he knows his stuff top and bottom, and he's from Cincinnati, and he's the best. And we invest a lot of money into sound. Yeah. Probably 4 or 5 times as much as like our competitors. And it shows,
Does he specialize in knocking cups off walls? Is that like is that the move?
He's an expert at that, apparently. I got the receipts to prove it.
The sound that's going to be used at the new spot is Rankis and Hines, the system. And if you look it up, like you'll see it's very it has to be a little different over on this spot because we have apartments above it. There's apartments above Fishbowl, but it's a little different. This is like the first real late night spot that's going to be opened on that side. And so the Rankis and Hines stuff was like big in like opera houses and stuff. So it's really like fine-tuned sound system, and that's the goal with this too, is like it's gonna be really nice but also fine-tuned. So when you're in a nice place, and this, Drew, when you're in a nice place with a nice sound system, it's loud, but you never have to like yell.
Oh, it's the main thing. That's the most important. But since you are doing this from scratch, and me have been in bars, a lot of my life, are you soundproofing the ceiling or the walls or all that? Because it's always driven me crazy when people do a remodel and then they're like, well, you got to turn it down. And you're like, well, fuck, man, you just tore it down from scratch,
even with that, is you can try and it just doesn't matter. If you're loud, you're loud. It can only dampen it. It's not going to get rid of it. We get a lot of stuff at Fishbowl and we still get, complaints from time to time, and
it's the low end here.
Yeah,
it's the low end. There's not much you could do about the rumble.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Chris was having to explain to the builders the other day when we were at a meeting. But like a lot of the stuff too, we even looked at like some of the ceilings for the ceiling, like they make these acoustic panels and this and that, and Chris was saying, in his experience, that it wouldn't matter if we did that or not with a lot of it, and so don't waste your money.
Even if you just keep the subs on the ground.
So we're actually flying the subs.
It just bounces off everything, and whether they're on the floor or in the ceiling or whatever. I'm just gonna try to rent the apartment upstairs. I've already emailed the leasing office and said, hey, let me know, when that upstairs apartment comes open.
Which it will soon. Right after, right?
Yeah, if it's not open now, it will be this summer.
But also speaking to answering your question music-wise with this space is, one of the things that we do at Fishbowl, which not a lot of places around us do, and I'm not saying we pioneered this or anything, because I know you can go to other places and they do this and there's programs, but we play music videos all day when we're open. And a lot of it's like fun, new, hip stuff. Like you're not just hearing, the same old rock songs from the 90s regurgitated. Like we're playing a lot of Drake, Nicki Minaj, mixed with fun stuff like Journey, but we're playing music videos, and we kind of plan on doing that same thing over there, but differently. The music's going to be tuned a little different.
Mumford and Sons.
Kind of ish. Yeah. We were making notes the last time. So we were in Ireland last September, and we were kind of taking mental notes and making lists of things of like what we heard and getting more ideas for things. So that's something that we will be doing over there, but it will be different from Fishbowl, but that is something that we plan to do over there as well. And honestly too, like even entertainment, we plan on doing like some bingo probably over there and some other stuff like that we can find that we can do during the days to kind of, have a more focus on entertainment as well, not just DJing, fun things for people to do, not just a space where you can go and drink, but like there's actually stuff going on. But yeah, so that is that announcement, and that's cool, and it will be happening hopefully around the 1st of June. Somewhere in that is when we're hoping for that to be opening. But you know how it is with construction, you can always run into hiccups, and ever since the pandemic, shipping has been supply chain issues. Drew, you know how it is. We've had supply chain issues with this podcast. Sometimes due to supply chain issues, episodes have been up a day late or so, and so we've been having those same issues. But
now the delivery companies are asking for tips now. Like FedEx showed up today and he had a little thing and was like, hey, 10%, 20%.
Yeah,
boy.
the $1-2 little thing when you scan it. It's like, oh, let me get the $2 deal.
FedEx wants a tip now.
Yeah, that'll be the day. Fuck, that'll be the. I'm gonna grab that little thing and throw it in the water if that's what he wants.
It's true though. That's when the circle of life happens, and nobody starts shopping online anymore because they're all going to the store to buy it themselves because the FedEx guy needs a tip. So
if Amazon comes to me and they want a tip, it's a wrap.
One of the things that we have left to do is we do a segment called the sauce. I'm gonna play this video real quick, and then we can talk about it. All right, Here we go. We're gonna hit you with this segment, and then we'll talk some sauce.
The name is Bootsy, baby, and this shout out goes out to Drew and Fuse, all the way from Cincinnati to the LBC Barber. Yeah. I was told you guys are quite the chefs, and you got a delicious sauce that you cooked up. Ooh, and it drips that swagoo and breaks down the recipe. Yeah, and you giving up the pig because it's funky, as in good, that is, finger funkin' good. On the one by the power of the one. Yeah, without that, there is none. So get yours and be in tune with the one that loves you. Get it, baby.
There's Bootsy cooking up the recipe. So yeah, the sauce is something we like to do before we end, where it could be a couple things. And Drew mentioned that he wanted to hear something a little specifically from you, but the other thing I would like is if you had to give your younger self a piece of advice, what it would be. So Drew, do you want to ask your question one more time?
My question is, a lot of your stuff was a happy accident, right? Which, that's where the majority of my DJ career has come as well. So you can't recreate these happy accidents. But what you've learned over the years, if someone wants to duplicate it without just having to stumble across life with an accident, how would you, or what tips would you give someone that wants to open their own club or night or bar?
I think just plant the seed. It was always something that I was working towards. I was always trying to educate myself even more. Like, hey, how do you make better ads on this, or how do you, get people excited about this event or that event? So I think just planting the seed. And working towards, that goal. I think to be patient, if you're 21 years old, it's possible, it might take a little while, might not, you might have some happy luck too. I was in my, I guess, early 30s, but just working towards, I guess, your goals. I think I slowly worked towards mine, I think I would have, it definitely didn't work out the way I thought. It worked out a lot better than I thought, and even I would attribute that to just working with good people. There's a lot of shady people in the business. There's a lot of people that are in it for the wrong reasons. I was lucky and worked with good people and for the right reasons over the years. So pair up with good people, not people that are full of it and are in it for the wrong reasons. And don't be afraid to have the difficult conversations. Don't be afraid to just put it out there, put your neck on the line and see what happens. What's the worst that could happen? You wind up being a jet ski instructor in Key West if it fails. Now you hear my backup plan, right? That's my backup plan. Yeah, that's the worst that could happen. Whatever.
One of the things that I want to say too is with happy accidents in life, sometimes you have to be prepared for those to happen, and you have to be able to roll up your sleeves and actually put your money kind of where your mouth is and do the work. And, if you aren't prepared for something like that, or, those opportunities might be coming for people and might be just passing them up because they're not prepared for, the opportunity that might be given. So, you still have to be a worker and prepared for all the stuff that comes with it. So I think, while some stuff might have happened, along the way, you've built everything that you've built because you've been determined to, keep it moving and keep it moving. And hopefully this spot is just another one along the way of many, and it'll keep moving forward even more. And then one other thing that I would like to ask too is just if you had to give a piece of advice to your younger self, or something that, when you started out in the DJ game, that you wish you had known, what would it be?
I think document stuff more. I think I came from the era right on the tail end to where it was like, it was actually at times like, oh, you don't need a DJ name. You don't need to do all that stuff. You're just here to work. Like I worked for some places like that, to where like your job is to come here and play music and not to promote yourself. So I think promote yourself. And I think that's changed, with time. I think early on, like I said, I was on that tail end of where DJs didn't really hype themselves up that much. They might not even put your DJ name on a flyer back in those days, so document as much as you can, put yourself out there, have fun, don't have too much fun. And just work towards your goals and be a good person,
I think from what both of you guys said, one, it goes, what your one word curse word is lazy, right? So don't be lazy, right? We can retribute it back to that. And don't have your hand out asking for a tip. Actually do the work.
That's it.
that you're getting paid for, and not trying to get that little bit extra for just because.
Totally.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think that's gonna wrap up the show. Before we go, do you just want to hit everybody with all the where they can find you if they want to check out the bar or the club, the websites maybe, and all that good stuff?
Yeah, at Energy Cincy, at Fishbowl at the Banks on all social media, and the new one at Red Leprechaun Irish Pub on Instagram and Facebook.
It's officially announced, so this might be a little late and or after that happens. So there you'll have it, and there'll be a little more to probably see when you're hearing all this. So. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap up the show for today. Once again, if you guys are in the market for DJ edits, make sure you check out Direct Music Service. Drew and Fuse Show gets you 30% off your first month. If you want products for your beard, if you want your beard to look as nice and put together as Drew and I, you can go over to Briggs Beard Company.
Danny, do you have some?
I gotta hook him up with some, actually.
Yeah.
I just found the box from when I moved. I gotta get him some. So yeah, the code DAFS will get you 20% off an order at Briggs Beard Company, and also that link for Club Cannon is below in the description. It'll get you $25 off, $250 or more. So there you have it. Thank you guys. Until next time, we'll talk to you soon. See ya.
I'm gonna need you guys to sign this. Just a tip, just a little tip. Just sign here, please. Sign there.
It's his talent fee. That's what it is, and then plus tip.
Yeah.
So.
Nice.
All right. That's it. We'll see you guys next time. Later.
Peace.